Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Justina and today I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Parva. I have been friends with Parva since 6th grade. I just realized today it's been 14 years. Because that was in 2006. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I was thinking about it today.
Wow.
I know. I went up to her and I was like, "Are you Egyptian?" And she was like, "No, I'm Persian, but we can still be friends."
Just like that.
Yeah, we both talked in very high-pitched voices. Anyways, I've had the privilege of knowing Parva for many, many years, and now she is a
midwife and
yes,
doula.
And doula. Apparently those are not two of the same things. Those are different, but you do both.
Yes.
Okay, so I asked you guys on Instagram and on Facebook to send in questions for Parva to learn more about what it is like being a midwife and her experiences and stuff like that. So she's going to be answering questions, and with a twist, she's going to be doing like a half sleeve of henna on me. So if she messes up and messes me up, then it's hands. Did you want to start with this?
Yeah, I'll
statement?
start off with a little introduction for myself. My name is Parva Shayasi. I am a student midwife, a doula, a belly dancer, a sister, a daughter.
How long have you been practicing?
Well, I have not been practicing because I'm a student, so I want to be careful with, you know, how all this is portrayed. I started midwifery
So you would
school.
say you're interning?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
interning. I'm a student midwife. I'm assisting. I would say it like that. Just because if I say I'm practicing, people might get the idea that I'm already
you're
licensed
certified.
and yeah. So everything I'm saying, you know, you could take with a grain of salt. I'm a student.
Oh, can we acknowledge the shirt?
Oh, yes.
I didn't get it at first, but it's actually such a good pun.
She said, oh.
Midwives, we help people out. Like, literally they help people out. Parva hopefully will come out with her own
Line.
midwife
Be on the lookout
merch.
for that.
So we will be supporting that. I'm here for it. So you said earlier that you started school in 2014.
Yes. Okay, so I started Najoni in 2014.
That's the school name. Sorry, that was
Shout out to class of 2017.
Whee!
That's when we graduated. Najoni means the beauty way. So yes, I started school in 2014. I started my first internship in 2015, which is when I started attending births.
You know how like in school they show you, I mean I have never seen
Let's
it.
talk about this. Don't cut this out.
Okay.
That
It's
video,
important. I've never seen it. Like I've
I
never been
remember
shown
it.
it, but
I
I
remember
know
it.
a lot of people have talked about like how gory it is, right? Like it's just terrifying. Like it's almost meant to like freak you
It
the
is.
hell
It's
out.
not almost. It is meant to. It is a fear tactic.
So when you said that you've witnessed 100 births, my first reaction was like, dear God, like you've seen that 100 times, but then
No.
like my realistic, like natural, like being a woman, knowing that I'm going to do that in the future came in, like, and was like, okay, but that's actually so beautiful that you have
It
witnessed
is
that,
very beautiful.
and I'm doubtful that you would be this passionate about it and this like high on life about it if it was like as gross as it's like portrayed in videos.
Every birth is beautiful in its own way. I mean, don't quote me on this, but probably over 99% of any kind of birth-related comment or scene in any sort of media that people see is negative.
It is.
Yeah, it's like a very typical hospital birth. Her water breaks, she goes into labor, she's screaming, you know, cursing out the partner, begging for drugs, whatever. It's just one thing after the next. So they're telling us from a very young age that this is birth. This is what normal is.
I haven't even gotten into the questions that we've been sent, but I do want to ask you as well to explain the difference between a midwife and a doula.
Okay.
Because I was just informed 5 minutes ago that those are not the same thing.
So, a doula holds space for you to be by your side, hold your hand, squeeze your hips. You'll call them when you need support in labor. So usually it'll be kind of earlier on. She's there to remind you, you got this. They're not there for any sort of medical advice or, you know, if anything happens, they are there for the emotional support.
To take care of you.
Yeah.
And then as far as the midwife, they would come in later.
Yes, so a midwife, you would be seeing your midwife for your prenatal care throughout your pregnancy. Women can see midwives for just well woman exams and You know, you don't have to be pregnant to see a midwife.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so if you want to get a pap smear, call your midwife. You'll see her throughout your prenatal care. For the birth, it's best to, for most women, to wait until things kind of pick up. You know, you want to be rocking and rolling before you go in. That's when you would call your midwife and have her come over, because sometimes labor can take a long time, so you don't want your midwife to be there when it's pretty early and you can still go about your day. A midwife is there to make sure that the mom and baby are safe and to hold space and make sure that everything is normal.
With home births, like, are the women usually standing up? Is that why you're catching the baby, or?
We get all kinds of positions. That's one thing I love. You can birth your baby. I mean, depending, you know, most midwives are for this, but we come to you. We are here to serve you. If you want to be on your hands and knees, standing up, laying on your back, you know, on your side, whatever, yeah, in the water, in your backyard, like, we're there. However you want it. If it's safe, if it's normal, we're there to support.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to surrender. I'm going to get into the questions that were sent in. What inspired you to become a midwife? This is a really good question. I was going to ask for this myself.
Belly dancing.
What?
Which we love to do together. Well, two things, I should say. Belly dancing and my grandma.
Aww.
I guess I'll start with my grandma. No, I'll start with belly dancing.
Okay.
After I graduated high school, I took a random class that I didn't need in community college with Jeff Klubeck. Thank you, Jeff. It was a speech class, and I did all of my speeches about belly dancing. I started doing research on the origins of belly dancing. In ancient times, you know, young girls, when they started their cycle, they would be invited to drum circles, right? Women only drum circles. When I tell people that belly dancing and birth are related, I think they're like, what? Like, I'm not gonna belly dance during labor. It kind of creates like this whole image of like a big performance, you know? But if you just watch women in labor, if you let them do their thing, you know, most of them will do the same stuff. Moving of the hips and then the low like sounds. Those vibrations really open you up and guide the baby, you know, in the best way possible. Belly dancing and birth, related. I've been teaching belly dancing since high school. You remember that?
Yes. Dude, you were not just teaching belly dancing in high school. She fought for the club.
I did fight for that club.
There was no belly dancing club in our high school, and Parva started the belly dancing club and was the teacher. It was the coolest thing. I was so proud of her. It was so cool. It was finally like a piece of like similar both of our cultures, like like being portrayed at pep rallies. That was a huge deal. This was like in 2011, 2010 or something.
Yeah, 2010 to 2012.
Yeah, so that was a huge deal. They continued it after she
I don't know
graduated.
how it's going. I need to go check it out. But,
you go put them in check.
The fight never ended. They were always trying to end the belly dancing club for whatever reason. And number 2 is my grandma, Maman Turan. Kheli Dusetara. Means I love you so much. My grandma had 6 babies at home in Sahne in Iran with a midwife, Da Najime, that was her name. I don't know, just hearing my grandma talk about that was just exactly what I needed to hear. I mean, if it wasn't your grandma, then maybe your great-grandma or your great-great-grandma, but it's like before, you know, the medical institution just took it over. We were giving birth at home with midwives. A quick little side note. I mean, I'm kind of new to henna, so it's not going to be anything too fancy, but I've been practicing so that I can do more belly blessings and do henna on bellies too.
It's gonna look so cool. I'm so excited to see what you do with that. So the second question is it one of those things you can never get used to?
Yes and no. I mean, it's always sacred and it's always special. You know, it's never normal in a way because it's always like, wow, you just gave birth to a baby. You know? You know, I mean that in the best way. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like, oh my god, a birth.
Like terrifying.
Yeah.
It's like a beautiful like thing that you're witnessing every time.
Yeah.
And the next question is, this is kind of a 2-part question. What's the most difficult and most easy part of being a midwife?
I'm probably gonna say like 10 of each.
Okay, what do you want to start with? Easy or hard?
Let's start with hard, I guess.
Okay.
The most difficult parts, I don't know, sometimes you are at a birth for a very long time. That can be exhausting. I would say more things like when you get really emotionally involved with, you know, your clients and they have to transfer, or you know what I mean, just certain things where you're just like super into it and you become so emotionally involved that you're not separating things anymore at that point. You know what I mean? Like you're fighting for something so much, even if like that's not really the way it's meant to go. And you have to accept that, okay, I'm here to keep things safe and normal. And if this isn't safe and normal, as much as I love you and as much as I know you want to do this, like I'm here to, this is why you hired me. So the easiest things, I don't know, to love and care for the women, I would say that comes the most naturally for me. It's just like, wow. I mean, like, what can I do for you? How can I serve you?
But that's interesting too, because your difficult things were centered around compassion as well. So in a way, your compassion and your love for the women you help is both a difficult thing and an easy thing.
Yeah, because you have to find the balance. That's true.
The next question is, do doctors put the husband's stitch without the female's consent?
Okay, so you were saying earlier you don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I personally didn't understand that question, so can you explain the question and then answer it?
Okay, this is something that actually angers me, but so, okay, if you tear when you give birth, you might need stitches or sutures, right?
Okay.
And it's a misconception that if you add an extra stitch, it's going to be tighter for the man.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So
that's why it's called the husband's stitch.
Yeah, that's why they call it that.
Oh my gosh.
Right? How disrespectful to say something like that after you just witnessed the birth of your child.
Like, please tie her tighter.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, it doesn't even work that way anyway, so what was the question exactly?
It was, do they add it without the woman's consent?
They do things like that at the hospital. I've heard, you know, of stories like that a lot. That's not going to help anything except make a woman uncomfortable.
So, in short, some places do add it without really asking the woman, and then some
places
won't.
I should word it like this. Some people have improperly sutured women. Let's put it that way.
The next question is, what was something they didn't tell you would happen?
Well, one thing I didn't really realize, I guess, when I started is how political midwifery is. I thought, you know, it's like rainbows and butterflies and...
Do you want to get into that at all?
Hospitals in America, they're making a lot of money off of women having babies. And a lot of money off of putting babies in the intensive care unit. So they want to charge insurance. They want to just rack it all up. So they're going to do more unnecessary things.
To be able to do that.
Yeah.
Someone said, is it really that safe and how painful? And they asked you to please not sugarcoat it.
Well, I haven't had a baby, so I can't tell you that.
It's a good answer.
But what I can tell you is that your body can do this. Of course, it's painful and uncomfortable, but with every contraction, your body is releasing the hormones it needs for you to be able to handle it. Throughout your pregnancy, everything is opening up.
When I get like kind of scared about it, I think about like all the women who have done it.
That's
like,
yes, that's what
makes me different. Our bodies are doing what they are meant to do when it comes to that, you know?
Yeah. Totally.
The next question is, do you only work with natural births, such as non-epidural?
I'm just going to kind of answer there because they specified, because natural can mean a lot of things to people, but we don't do epidurals at home. So if that's what you're talking about, no, we don't do epidurals at home. We don't induce labor with Pitocin, which is something that happens at hospitals a lot, which means starting labor with synthetic drugs that are mimicking oxytocin, mimicking how birth would normally or naturally start. We don't do stuff like that. But there's other ways to do it, like nipple stimulation and like certain herbs and things like that. So, you know, if you're inducing labor with natural remedies, is that a natural birth? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a fine line.
Yeah.
So, but if you are going to the hospital with one of your, you call them clients, with one of your clients, and she wants an epidural, obviously that's a whole different situation.
Oh yeah, if we're at the hospital, yeah, we're there to support you, so... if you're at the hospital for whatever reason, then, but no, for the home
but at
births,
home,
there is no option for that, no.
The next question is, what happens if there's a complication? And from your previous answers, I'm assuming it's like you're prepared for that with certain medications you have. Complications is a huge, like...
Yeah, it is. And I love that people ask this. I mean, that's like one of the main questions everyone asks,
Yeah, of course.
I feel like. Well, that's why we're there. We're there in case it's not normal. But most of the time, I mean, women have babies and, you know, we're just kind of there holding space. But, I mean, let me just go over, I'm not going to tell you all the complications that can happen, but the main ones would be the woman has a hemorrhage. She bleeds too much afterwards. We have drugs for that. Or...
what if the umbilical cord is wrapped around the baby's
That's
neck?
a good one. That's something that a lot of people talk about and are afraid of, and that actually is a pretty normal and common thing. I mean, it can be dangerous, but it's normal and it's common. And that's, once the head is born, that's the first thing we check for.
And then, so what if it is?
We just unloop it. Once the head is out, you feel to
but
see...
is it ever, I wouldn't know, but is it ever too tight on the baby to where you literally cannot physically undo it?
It can be, but it's not very likely. And the thing is, this is the thing that a lot of people forget.
Do you want me to do something with my arm?
No, you're okay. Is that the baby is getting oxygen through the umbilical cord. The baby's not breathing through its mouth yet. So that's not a problem unless it is pinched or way too tight, which again, that's not very common.
Any other complications you want to?
Oh, yes.
Go over?
The baby's shoulder gets stuck on the way out.
Oh my god, dude, that can happen. Oh my gosh.
It's best for her to be put on her hands and knees at that point, and then there's certain maneuvers we would do at that point for that. I mean, I would say those would be the main complications.
So we've kind of talked about these two just within answering other questions, but this is a two-part question as well. Do you provide more personalized care / experience than a traditional hospital birth? And do you stay with the woman the entire labor?
The care is very different than, you know, a hospital birth. We put a lot of time and love into it. So the thing I was thinking is, earlier I said like our prenatal visits are longer, but also the postpartum care. This is what's really important to me. Even everything from the newborn exam. I mean, I can't speak on behalf of all midwives, but I put a lot of love and intention into the newborn exam. Talking to the baby, not taking the baby away from the mom for too long. Like, those are the golden hours. Those are important times for the mom and the baby to bond, and then visiting them afterwards, you know.
I see you visiting women that you've helped birth, like, and the baby's what, like 2 years old, like 3?
That is because of my connection with them, but what I mean is, after they have their baby, we go and visit them 24 hours after, you know, 3 days after, 1 week after.
Just to like keep in touch, make sure they're still good.
Yeah, to make sure everything is great. Nursing is great, mom is healing, her bleeding is going down, like all sorts of things. We don't want a drop-off, disconnect between, which is a lot of times what happens at hospitals. You have your baby and then they just send you home. Yeah. And then you're just like,
good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Do you stay the entire labor?
Definitely not. I mean, maybe some midwives do, but I mean, you wouldn't really want that. You want it to be pretty heavy. Not, you know, you don't want to be running in when the head's out, but you want it to be very rhythmic and intense when you get there.
The last question is, do you work in a birthing center, a hospital, home births?
So I started off with a home birth practice in San Diego. I went to Oregon for a month and I visited a birth center out there and assisted with births out there. And then I came back down to Cali again and joined a home birth practice again. Also worked at another birth center down here. I mean, in between all this, we have transfers from time to time, or I'll doula my friends, or, I'll go to hospital births too. So I've witnessed those, but you can't assist. That's when I end up being a doula. But I currently am working with a home birth practice. So.
All right, well, that was it for all of the questions that were sent in. I'm going to hold this last few minutes for you if you want to say anything else, or if you want to plug anything.
I just wanted to give a quick little shout out to my sisters and classmates who just opened up Tourmaline Birth Center in Pacific Beach. Congratulations. And I just hope that this inspires women, and especially younger girls, to look into this and to know that this is an option and that it's safer, statistically speaking, than hospital births. And birth can be very traumatizing, but it can also be very empowering. Yeah, I don't know. I have so much to say, but I feel pretty good about it. Those things there that I said.
Do you want to talk about your YouTube channel?
Well, sure. I am in the works of my YouTube channel and business and all that good stuff. Like I said, the origins of belly dancing are to help women give birth, so I'm really involved in connecting those.
And she's doing big things this year, so I'll link her Instagram, her new one, her business one when she makes it, in the link below, as well as her YouTube link, so you can go subscribe to her and keep up with her adventures. If you have any questions for Parva, leave them in the comments, and then she'll probably either respond to them directly, or I can text her and ask her and get back to you guys. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.
Are you listening? Damn.